Hello, this is Ron Climer at Keller Williams Realty in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I want to talk to you today about why real estate is the ideal investment. That's I-D-E-A-L, investment. And real estate is the ideal investment. If you have money to invest, you want to get a return on your money. Well, one cool thing about real estate, when you own real estate as rental property, it gives you income. Well, rich or poor, it's good to have income. And real estate gives you income. By the way, that's my phone number there, but I'm going to erase it in a minute. But let me talk to you a second about how real estate gives you income. You have a rental property, and I'm just going to use an example here. I'm going to use an example of a 4-unit apartment building. I'm going to use an example of a 4-unit apartment building, and I'm going to talk about the income that that apartment building should give you. So if you bought a 4-unit apartment building for, let's just say, $250,000, and I'll tell you in a minute how I came up with that price. But if you bought this property, 4 units, and let's say you rented those properties for $750 per apartment. All right? So you bought it for $250,000. You took your $250,000 out of the bank where you get 1% on your interest, and you bought the apartment building. It's going to pay you $36,000 a year in what we call potential gross income. Now, potential gross income is if it's 100% full 100% of the time. Well, we all know it's not going to be 100% full 100% of the time. All you got to do is look around and see that everybody else in town runs about 10% vacant. So you're going to have vacancy and collection. So we're going to subtract that out, so you really can look for about $32,400 in income. Now, when you own property, you have expenses. You have taxes, you have insurance. If you're smart, you're paying a realtor a fee to manage the property for you. You're not over there aggravating yourself with the tenants, although you can if you want to, but you still need to consider this as an expense because your time is not worthless. And you've got repairs and etc. So you have expenses, and I'm just kind of guesstimating this at about $7,200 a year. So you got $3,200 a year coming in, $7,200 going out. So you have what we call net operating income of about $25,000 a year. And that's where I came up with that $250,000 price. Because when people buy real estate and when people sell real estate, they have a thing called the capitalization rate. And this is how professional appraisers determine the value. And it's how a smart buyer determines the value. So if you got $25,160 coming in, and you paid $250,000 cash for that property, you're getting a 10% return on your money. You're getting a 10% return on your money. Now we're going to talk in a minute about how you probably won't pay cash for the property. But let's assume what I said is true. Now, let's go back to why I said real estate is the ideal investment. I said real estate's the ideal investment because it gives you income. Well, another thing that real estate does is it gives you depreciation. Now, depreciation, you may have heard people say that real estate is a tax shelter. That real estate is a tax shelter, and real estate is a tax shelter. A tax shelter means you get income, but you don't necessarily have to pay tax on it, well, right this minute. Well, so real estate gives you income, and because of depreciation, it gives you tax shelter. Well, let me go back to the other board, and with our income, with our property, our $250,000 4-unit building that we bought, we have a net operating income of $25,000 a year. Now, instead of paying cash for that property, You could have bought that property with a mortgage. Let's say you put $50,000 down and you got a $200,000 mortgage. And you're making payments of about $14,800 a year. So you're paying $14,800 a year in mortgage payments. You got $25,000 coming in and about $14,800 going out, leaving you with $10,300 in what we call before tax cash flow. Well, the bad news is in America, anytime you earn money, you have to pay the IRS. But think about this. If you had $10,328 coming in, extra money, this is like having a part-time job down at Burger King or something. Actually, it's better than a part-time job at Burger King. Because if you had a part-time job at Burger King, you're making $10,328 extra dollars. Well, if this is your part-time job, you got another job, you're probably in about a 30% tax bracket, which means 30 cents on every dollar goes to the IRS. But because of depreciation, and by the way, that's a whole nother video on how that works, but you wouldn't pay tax on all of that money. You only pay tax on about a third of it. So your taxes on this much money would be about $916, the way I computed it, which means your after-tax cash flow would be $9,400. Now hold on a second. I said if you bought this property for $250,000 and got $25,000 back, that's a 10% return on your money. But if you bought this property for $50,000 down payment and you got $9,400 back, that's almost a 20% return. Which brings us to the L in ideal, which stands for leverage. One of the cool things about real estate is it's very easy to finance it. So you can finance real estate. You buy a $250,000 property, maybe you've got $250,000, maybe you don't. But let's say you do. You only put $50,000 down and finance the rest. So instead of getting a 10% return on your $250,000 investment, you're getting closer to a 20% return on a $50,000 investment. Which my advice would be, if you do have $250,000, buy 5 of these properties. Don't just buy one. That's the magic of leverage with real estate. You can get good returns. Now, the E stands for equity buildup. And this is the coolest thing about real estate, because a lot of people, including myself, back before my hair turned white, back when I had a lot of energy in my 30s, I went out and bought some properties. Bought a lot of properties for very little or even no money down. Highly leveraged. Now, by the way, leveraged is good news and bad news. The bad news is it's risky. The more leverage you got, the more risk you got. But back when I was young and had plenty of energy, I bought lots of property with very little down. And as the years went by, you build up equity in that property. 10, 12, 15 years later, that duplex that's never made you any money for 10 or 12 years, all of a sudden you got $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 equity in the little duplex. Next thing you know, that house you bought over on the other side of town, you got equity in that. And so you build up equity. That's a cool thing. But the coolest thing about real estate, and this is the least kept secret in real estate, is real estate appreciates in value. Real estate appreciates in value. All you have to do to prove that to yourself is go back in time 20 years ago, 1996. How much was an average price house here in Hendersonville? Well, I wasn't here in 1996, but I'll bet you it's about half what it is now because it was where I was. Go back 10 more years, 1985. Average house in Orlando, Florida, probably about $75,000. And real estate appreciates in value. It's been doing it since 1492. It's not going to quit now. Now, it doesn't appreciate if you pay too much for it, but if you bought it right. But real estate gives you income. It gives you tax shelter. You build up equity in it as the years go by. This is a great deal for a young man. Great, great deal. Real estate appreciates in value. Don't take my word for it. Go down to the library, get the 1980 newspaper, see what an average house was back in those days. And you can finance it. And the financing increases your return on your investment. If I can talk to you some more about this, if you got money sitting around in the bank making you 2 or 3 or 5% interest, and you're interested in taking that money, you know, you can do this through your IRA, your 401k. There's ways to do that today. So give me a call. Oh, I forgot to put my number up there. 828-755-6996, and that's the number for Ron Climer, your local real estate agent that would love to help you either become an investor or increase your investment portfolio, or if you got a little white hair like I do and maybe you're kind of tired of aggravating with those tenants, you'd like to let some younger person do that, give me a call. I can make that happen too. Thanks.